Alright guys, welcome to part 4 of the LittleBigPlanet 2 Beta Create Mode walkthrough. In this part we're going to be exploring world and object tweakers, as well as some of the power-ups that you can have in LittleBigPlanet 2. Now, first off we're going to start off with some of the world tweakers, and this here is a global anti-gravity tweaker. This will tweak the gravity in the level, for the entirety of the level. It affects all objects and all materials when activated, and it can effectively just change the gravity mid-game. You can set the gravity level that the switch changes the level of gravity to when you activate it. That's how much the gravity will change. If it's not hooked up to an input like a button that we have there, you can have it set to a trigger radius. You can have it set to only activate once, yes, no. So if you only want it to work once and you don't want it to be able to be reactivated, then have this set to yes, otherwise have it set to no. You can have transition time, so you can decide how long it takes for the gravity to change, and you can have it visible in play mode or not. Now if I activate this, as you can see there, I've activated the top one. The top one is set to 50% gravity, and I can now jump really high compared to normal. If I activate the bottom one, which is set back to 100, then I can jump as high as I normally can. Now over here we have a global audio tweaker. Now the global audio tweaker will change various audio settings mid-game as well. You can change the sound effects volume, the background ambience volume, music volume, and dialogue volume. You can have the audio set to sound like it's in a bathroom or a hallway or a forest or something like that, and you can change the amount or the effect that setting has on sound effects, music, and dialogue as much as you wish for each individual one. You can also have a filter applied to sound effects, music, and dialogue. What the filter does, it sort of makes it sound like the sound that you're modifying is coming from like behind a wall or inside a room. Sort of muffles the sound a little bit. Once again, if you don't have it hooked up to an input like we do, you can set it to a trigger radius. You can have it to only activate once yes, no. You can have transition time, and you can have visible in play mode or not. Now there's no sound in this level, so I can't really show you what it does too much, but we'll just keep going. Here we have the score giver. Now the score giver, as its name would suggest, gives your player score. You can set how much score it gives you there. You can also set it to a negative value to take score away from your player. We'll just set it to 100. You can have various input actions. You can have one shot, so for example, with one shot, if I jump on that button, no matter how long I stay on it for, it'll just give me 100. As soon as I step on the button, nothing else will happen. If I set it to every second, as long as the input is activated, it will give me 100 points every second. Scaled every second, that will give me more points for every second that the input is activated. You can have the score giver give the points to just the person who activates the input, or everybody in the level. You can have the score display over the player when they get it, yes, no. You can also have it visible in play mode. So we'll leave it on that scaled every second input just to show you the unusual ones. And I'll just stand on this button here. And that'll just pretty much just go up. But for one shot, every time I jump on it, that's when it will give me score. Over here we have the game ender. The game ender, as its name suggests, will end the game. Now this completes level option. It's a bit poorly worded and a bit vague as to what it does. But if you have this set to no, and you have a scoreboard in your level, and if this input is activated and you have this set to no, all your players will go to the scoreboard rather than going to the end game screen. If you have this set to yes and the input is activated, your players will go to the end screen. The end screen is that screen where you can rate the level and pick whether you want to replay it or continue back to your pod. But if you have it set to no, it takes you to the scoreboard. You have it set to yes, takes you to the end screen. And visible in play mode, yes, no, as per usual. Now over here we have a destroyer. What a destroyer does, it will turn any material it is stuck to into dissolved material, or make any material it's stuck to act like dissolved material. In the fact that it will destroy that material when activated. Include rigid connections, yes, no. What this means is if anything is glued to this material here, then if that is set to yes and the destroyer is activated, everything that is glued to the destroyer will also, or to the material that the destroyer is connected to, will also be destroyed. If you have that set to no, then just the material that the destroyer is connected to will be destroyed. You can have various visual effects as to the method of destruction. You can have dissolve, shrink, explode, fade, splat, fall apart, and just disappearing. And you can have it visible in play mode, yes, no. So, if I was to jump on this button here, the piece of dark matter should explode. Like that. Over here we have a danger tweaker. A danger tweaker will allow you to change materials to the various hazard types. You can change it to fire, electricity, plasma, or none. That means with none you can change hazardous materials back to their original form. We'll just set this one to fire. You can change the input action to on-off, stay on as well. So if it just once it's activated, it will stay on and never change back. You can have it inverted, yes, no. You can set it to be visible in player mode or not, and you can have the sound effects that come from the hazard. If you would like those sound effects to be on or off, you can change that there. Now, when I pull this switch, it changes to fire. When I pull it back, it changes back to light matter. And I can just change that back as many times as I wish. Over here, we have the Antigravity tweaker. The Antigravity tweaker will modify gravity only for the item it is stuck to. Now you can change the anti-gravity effect there. That's how little gravity will affect it. 100% means it should float or get as close to floating as possible. Dampening. It's sort of hard to explain dampening, but I'll show you now. I'll just move this up a bit, and as you can see, if I turn the anti-gravity option down, it falls and accelerates. But if you were to have dampening at 100 and then turn dampening down, it will fall at a set rate. As you can see there, it does not accelerate or anything like that. It just goes down at a consistent speed. So that's the difference between anti-gravity and dampening. Zero buoyancy. What zero buoyancy will do is affect the material's flotation in water. So if I were to set zero buoyancy to 100 and I were to put that wood in water, usually wood would float in water. But if you set that to 100, then the wood will sink as if it was a lot heavier. You can't set that to a negative value, but you can make items heavier in water. You can have input action on-off, strength scale, and speed scale to affect the just how much it affects each option for the analog ones. And you can have visible in play mode, yes, no. Over here we have a material tweaker. A material tweaker allows you to change various options with regards to materials. It doesn't actually allow you to change the material itself, but you can change different properties. For example, you can change how bouncy a material is. You can change how much friction the material has in the world. You can change if the material is sticky or not. You can change that will sort of change whether things are glued to it or not if you set that to not, or you can set it to normal, non-stick, sticky, stuff like that. Grabbability, you can set it to be grabbable or not grabbable. You can set it to have a single grab, grabbable by everyone, or just grabbable by one person, that sort of stuff. You can set it to be indestructible, so it can't be destroyed. Visible in play mode, yes, no, and you can set the audio options as well with regards to the physics sounds. Now this particular material tweaker is set to make this sponge not grabbable. So if I turn this, or if I turn this off first, you can see that I can grab onto the sponge. If I turn this on, no matter how much I try and how much I press the R1 button, I can never grab this sponge. So that's how that's just one of the things a material tweaker can do. Over here we have the grappling hook, one of the first power-up in LittleBigPlanet 2. Now, essentially how it works, it can grab onto any grabbable material just like your Sackboy can. And it's got a fairly good range. You can't set the range to whatever you'd like, unfortunately, not at this point at least, but essentially you just point to where you want it to shoot with the left analog stick when you're in midair, and you press and hold R1 for it to grapple onto something. Once you let go of R1, you fall like that. You can use up and down on the left analog stick when you're grappled onto something, or grab when you're hooked onto something, to lengthen and shorten the wire, respectively. the wire and the grappling hook are the same color as your Sackboy's poppet and whatnot. And that's pretty much what it allows you to do, is just swing from grabbable item to grabbable item. You can also move grabbable items with it if they're not stuck in place, like those ones are up there. There are no options for it, except for can be dropped, yes, no. This applies to all of the power-ups. You can set this option for all power-ups. And essentially what it means is if you have that set to no, you can't, your Sackboy can't let go of the item, they can't drop it like you can if you press circle. If it's set to yes, then they can drop it, but if it's set to no, they are not allowed to drop it. If they die, they won't spawn with it, unless you put one of the power-up things right in front of a checkpoint, but they can't drop it while they're alive. Over here we have the Creatinator. Now the Creatinator is sort of like an emitter on your Sackboy's head. That's pretty much exactly what it is, and you can set it to emit several objects. It's got like a special sort of thing it does with projectiles. You can make it shoot projectiles, the new projectiles we have that are electricity, fire, plasma, and water. I've got 5 of them here to show you each of them, but I'll show you the options first. Now there you can pick the object you want to emit. You can set how many it will fire overall. You can set how many are emitted at once, how many exist in the game world at once. You can set it to recycle old objects, so once it hits the maximum emitted at once, will it destroy the old objects so it can fire more? Yes, no. Velocity, how fast it will be shot out of the Creatinator. Angular velocity, the angle at which it's shot out of the Creatinator. And the accuracy, this sort of varies the angular velocity a little bit. If it's set to 100, it will always be set to that. But if it's set to 90 or 80 or something lower than 100, it will vary the angular velocity for each shot, so it's not 100% accurate in a straight line all the time. As you can see, that little purple thing there, little purple sort of sonic effect there, if you set it to 0, that's how accurate it is. As I move this up, that just gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until you get to 100. And when it will fire in a straight line all the time. Rate of fire, if it's set to 0, it just fires as many as it can, as fast as it can. You can set that to fire slower. Lifetime, how long each item will exist in the game world. You can have a create and dissolve effect. Create effects are fade, appear, expand, fade. Yep, just 3 of them there. And the destroy effects are the same as the destroyer. Shrink, explode, fade, splat, fall apart, etc. And can it be dropped? Yes, no. Now I've got 5 of them here just to show you the projectiles. This one will emit water. This one will emit electricity. This one will emit fire. This one will emit plasma. And this one will emit just baby heads, just to show you that it can emit any object you like. This here is a movie camera. Now as you can see, the camera angle has changed. This is essentially like Magic Mouths, but without the dialogue. There are still Magic Mouths, but these are people used to make cutscenes with Magic Mouths. Now you don't have to use Magic Mouths, you can use movie cameras. And these are also really useful in cutscene levels where there are just different camera angles and nothing else. You can set the camera angle and zoom, as well as the tilt. You can tilt it as well. You can set the zoom, where the camera is, etc. You can set the zone, where the activation zone is for the movie camera. You can set the transition type to cut, hard pan, soft pan, fade, and zoom fade, as well as crossfade. You can track players, yes, no. You can have it in local space, so if you move the movie camera, the camera angle and zoom and the zone will also move with it if that's set to yes, but if it's set to no, no matter where you move that camera, everything will stay in place. You can have camera shake, sort of like a handheld effect there. You can have transition time for how long transitions take and how long the movie camera itself will hold its position. You can disable controllers so Sackboy people can't move or activate their poppets or anything like that. You can have flatness. This is essentially sort of like a zoom function. You can have depth of field, which is like focus. Skippable, yes, no. Can Sack people skip the cutscene, yes or no? Requires all players, yes, no. And you can set it to be visible in play mode, as well as having a color. And you can have fade brightness as well for transitions. Over here, the last thing we're going to cover, this is the bounce pad. It allows you to jump like that. It's fairly basic. There's no options for it. except how high it will bounce you. That's the only option there is for that item there.